everyone. Thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, today we're going to be talking about Blanca Roja by Anne-Marie McLemore. This is a LGBTQ retelling that blends Snow White and Rose Red with Swan Lake. I like McLemore's writing style. Let me start by saying that. I do like her writing style. I think it's very lyrical. I think it's very beautiful. You really do get lost in the story as you're reading it. However, as much as I like her writing style, I think this story would have benefited a little bit more from some context. And this is why. First of all, Blanca and Roja, they're sisters. You know, the Dead Season curse is you get to have your two daughters that you want. However, when one comes of age, we, the swans, are taking them and turning them into a swan. It's really interesting. I do like that aspect of the storytelling. And you have Blanca and Roja. They are so invested in one another. Blanca does things in the story. She keeps secrets from Roja, and then she acts on some of these secrets. I think it's my biggest pet peeve when characters are just not 100% honest with someone they're supposed to be close with. I get it. You don't want them to lose hope. And I understand Blanca's mentality. She doesn't want Roja to just give up and lose hope, you know, except the family has treated them so separately. We're going to dote on Blanca. We're going to lose Roja anyway, so why get invested in her, right? However, I really, really hate it. Considering everything that led up to those moments, I really did hate how Blanca kind of acted, and how she just continued to keep secrets and how she just wasn't forthcoming with Roja. So I understand why Roja sees her actions as betrayal. It's like, you're not telling your sister everything. You're not being honest. Don't get me wrong, Roja does the same thing. But it really does, I think it's just a personal pet peeve of mine. I hate when characters keep secrets from people they're supposed to be so super close with, especially sisters. When you have such a bond and you're trying to highlight on the bond of the sisters, when they do something contrary to that, it bothers me to no end. I don't know why. I'm an only child, so I'm just not personally a fan of secrets, and I'm not personally a fan of lying. Not to say I don't lie or have secrets. Everyone does, and everyone does those things. But when I'm reading a story, it just seems very contrary to everything McLemore has built. So I wasn't really a fan of it, and that's why I wasn't a fan of it, you know? Another thing is I really couldn't get lost in the setting. I was actually kind of confused as to what the setting was. Sometimes it seemed more 18th century, sometimes it seemed 19th century, sometimes it seemed very 20th century. So I was very, very confused as to this world. I really wasn't able to ground myself in it because it lacked that context. And I wasn't a fan. I was just like, okay, you have such beautiful prose, McLemore. You have beautiful storytelling. But it just seemed like such a juxtaposition. You have this world, and I wasn't unsure of it, and this beautiful prose, and they're just not meshing together well. I will say, I listened to the audiobook of this, and I don't think I should have. I think this is one of those cases where the audiobook, the production was great. I did like the voice acting, but I think it was the best way for me to read the story so that I could absorb the information. Because here's my third hindrance. I do love the LGBTQ representation in the story. I think McLemore did a beautiful job representing that community. You have a character, you have Paige, and they go by they, them, he, her pronouns, but not she. She makes a very clear point to say, I do not identify with she. Like, that seems foreign to me. And I like that. And you read in the author's notes, McLemore's husband is transgender. So you can really tell the passion and the heart when it comes to identifying Paige. However, you also have Barkley, who also goes by Yearling. And then when all these characters, because it goes between multiple perspectives, Blanca, Roja, Paige, and Barkley, you're following all 4 narratives. That's a lot. Not to say that's a bad thing, but it is a lot. And then when you have characters that identify as something else, I'm pretty sure Roja identifies Paige using him, he pronouns, and Blanca refers to Paige as she, or not she, her pronouns. And then you have Barkley, who goes by Yearling, and Barkley, and I forget who. No, the Roja calls him Yearling. Blanca calls him Barkley. I think you can see where my frustration and confusion is coming from. So when they're all talking to one another, you have 2 characters who will refer to Paige as he. And then you have the 3 hers, right? Because sometimes Paige goes by her. Blanca refers to Paige as her. I was just very confused as to sometimes who was talking to who. I needed name drops. I needed more context, and it really would have helped me ground myself more in the storytelling, because I was just confused. I was like, okay, who's talking to who? And I would often go back to listen and be like, who is talking to who? And that's another reason why I don't think the audiobook was really the best way for me to absorb the story. Granted, you had 4 different voice actors, I'm pretty sure, and 4 different perspectives, but it just, I guess because I'm listening to it, I wasn't absorbing the information the same way I would when I'm reading the story. And I think if I were reading it, if I had the actual book in hand and reading it, I don't think these hindrances that I'm expressing to you, like the lack of setting or the confusion for the setting and the confusion as to characters, I don't think I would have been as confused. I think I would have loved the story even more, because again, McLemore's prose is really good and you really do lose yourself in her storytelling. And that's probably the hindrance here, because that was translated very well into the audiobook production. But because I'm losing myself in the story, and, when I'm listening to audiobooks, I am multitasking, I think that's why I wasn't able to absorb the context as well. And that's where some of my confusion came from. So, don't listen to the audiobook version unless you plan on dedicating 100% of your attention to the audiobook. In my opinion, I think you should just get the physical book and read it, and I think you'll enjoy it more. I think I would have enjoyed it more. I just needed more context. I needed more clarification. I don't think that would have ruined McLemore's storytelling, but I can only give this book 3 out of 5 stars, unfortunately. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And again, I think part of that's because I chose the audiobook version versus a physical book. And I think a physical book would have been much better. Something for me to actually see and absorb differently than just listening to it while I multitask around the house. So, unfortunately, it only gets 3 out of 5 stars. If you want to go ahead and purchase the book, I will include links in the description below of where to purchase the book. And on that note, I hope you all will continue to support me by liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and sharing it with all your book-loving friends. You can also become a supporter on Buy Me a Coffee with a one-time donation, or by purchasing one of my handmade candles. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.